Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Here's part two then of our World Cup previews. Groups E to H. Group E, Germany, Ecuador, Ivory Coast and Curacao. There's a 40-year-old keeper and a 78-year-old manager in there. Group F, will the Netherlands implode as usual? Can Japan shine without Mitoma? Tunisia and Graham Potter's Sweden there too. Group G looks nice for Belgium with Egypt, Iran and New Zealand. Now the All Blacks with a chance for another undefeated DVD. And Sid joins us for Group H as Spain line up against Uruguay, Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia. This is the Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel for this one, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hello, Max. And can I just say that after yesterday's disgraccio, I have done an exhaustive search of Sunderland players at the World Cup and who they're playing for.
Excellent. I really hope you mess it up again. Jonathan Wilson, welcome.
Morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And Paul Watson, how are you?
Hi, Max. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and you're joining us for the first 9 days of the World Cup, although you're not coming for day one because why?
I'm presenting the Football in Berkshire Awards, Max.
Of course you are. Priorities. Are you a veteran of the Footballer in Berkshire Awards?
It's my third year, and I've retained the gig. Initially, they wanted Jeff Stelling, but he was otherwise engaged, and I've just sort of stuck in there and kept taking it. As long as Jeff keeps in work, I keep the Football in Berkshire Awards.
Good stuff. All right, well, let's get on with Group E then. Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast and Ecuador. Germany managed by Julian Nagelsmann. Of course, they have won it before. Went out in the group stages last time, though. That memorable defeat to Japan. Curacao, managed by Dick Advocat, and the first World Cup for them. Ivory Coast, managed by Emmas Faye, best ever. Just the group stages, never got through to the knockouts, 2006, 2010 and 2014. And Ecuador, managed by Sebastian Beccacheche, if I pronounced that correctly. Got to the last 16 in 2006, knocked out in the group stages last time. Should we start with Germany then, Wilson? How do you see them faring?
I mean, they'll go through because the format of the tournament means it's almost impossible for them not to go through. But I don't think this is a good Germany side. And the problem we've seen with them the last two tournaments is they don't have a centre forward, and that is no different. They've left out Füllkrug, which I guess makes sense given he's barely played. Havertz might have to play as a false nine. The forwards they've picked, Nick Voltemade, who, as we know from his time at Newcastle, is not natural number 9. Dennis Undav has had a decent season with Stuttgart. I think he's got 6 in 8 for Germany, so he can score. And Maximilian Bayer from Dortmund, who I believe is yet to score for Germany. And then you look at the line behind that, which is where the strength should be. Serge Gnabry left out. Musiala got that terrible injury against PSG in the Champions League. Is he going to be fully fit? Florian Wirtz has obviously had a bit of a weird season at Liverpool. So I think there's question marks all over the place. And then they've brought back Neuer, which I think has sort of surprised everybody. At 40, he's suddenly back in the team. So I think there's loads of questions there.
Baz, German thoughts?
Yeah, the goalkeeper thing is interesting. Oliver Baumann from Hoffenheim is also in the squad. He only has 11 caps. Neuer, is his presence going to cause friction? Are they going to fall out? It wouldn't be the first time 2 German goalkeepers fell out. That's for sure. And it looks like they could meet France in the quarterfinal. And if they do, I suspect that could be it for Germany.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Havertz is actually a brilliant footballer, Paul. But he can do that job. He's done that job a lot. Arteta preferred him up front in a sort of false 90 up front position in the Champions League final. There's no reason why he can't spearhead a very good attack.
No, there's no reason why he can't, but I think in qualification they just didn't look impressive. There was this thumping 6-0 win against Slovakia that secured it, but that really put a gloss on what was a pretty grim qualification campaign. If you're in a group with Slovakia, Northern Ireland and Luxembourg, it's not a massively strong group, and they made pretty hard work of it. And a note on the striker situation, I feel quite sorry for Dennis Undav because he's actually been playing really well, as we've kind of alluded to. But there's a sense, I don't know whether this has been explicit or just implied, but there's a sense that Nagelsmann has basically said to him, you're a sub, you'll be an impact sub, whatever you do. So I don't really think he's got any chance of starting. So I think it will be Havertz. I fully agree with Wilson on this. It's a team that looks great until you really scratch down into it, and then you find little holes. And I don't think they can go much further than probably last 16.
Just running, Wilson, if you're, was it you who was critical of Neuer in a game where I don't think any of the goals were his fault. Maybe it was the PSG Bayern game.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
I just wondered
you're
if this
saying
is
none of the goals were his fault.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just wondering if it's like your new Ronaldo doesn't press. I mean, you can still have Ronaldo doesn't press in this World Cup as well, you know. But it's good to add
did
a
that
new
piece of the
string to your
weekend?
bow.
I've already done my first World Cup Ronaldo doesn't press piece.
Have you?
Won't be the last.
Okay. Wilson, how do you see the Ivory Coast going?
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to the fact that they've never made it through the group before, but they've been really unlucky with draws before. So if you look at who they had in 2006, it was Argentina, Netherlands, Serbia, Montenegro, when only 2 went through. 2010, they had Brazil, Portugal, and North Korea. I mean, 2014, which was the last time they were there, was maybe a bit easier with Colombia, Greece, and Japan. But I think this is the first time when they've been in a group where you really think they ought to go through. They won the Cup of Nations in 2000, well, it was the 2023 Cup of Nations, which was played in 2024, which is now the problem with Cup of Nations, that they never played in the right year, which makes them very hard to refer to. And that was really sort of this tide of momentum they got under MS5. They got to the quarterfinals in Morocco in 2025, played 2025-26. And they got done by Egypt in the quarterfinal, which is a bit naive, that Egypt did what they do to teams and sort of sat off them, frustrated them. But they're a decent side. I don't think they're anything like as good as a team of 20 years ago. But there's no reason why. I mean, I think they'll get through the group, and then, why not last 16 quarterfinals?
Their head coach, Emers Faye, he's, I think, Reading's record signing, played for them 11 times and lost 11 times. So
will he be at the Berkshire Football Awards then?
Yeah, imagine, right? I imagine that's his priority. But he was that amazing story, wasn't he, at AFCON 2023, where they were hosting it and all these expectations, and then they had this dreadful group stage. They lost 4-0 to Ecuador Guinea,
yeah.
and sacked the coach on the spot, Jean-Louis Gasset, and brought in MSFA.
Well, he was the assistant,
mid-tournament.
so he just stepped up.
So he just got put in as the head, and then won it. So he's sort of done an amazing job, hasn't he? Really, considering.
And Wilfried Zaha is left out of their squad. Would that be a surprise? He's
I don't
on loan
think
at
so.
Charlotte at the moment. From
he was in the side for the Cup of Nations, but I mean, he wasn't massively involved in the Cup of Nations. They've got Diamond to play wide as well. So if you've got Ahmad and you've got Diamond, do you need him? I think maybe just a sense of an old man with a big profile isn't necessarily the best thing for squad harmony. I guess it's the logic.
Nothing wrong, Barry, with being an old man with a big profile. Just let's talk about Curacao. Dick Advocat is back in charge, but what happened there? He was manager, then he wasn't, and then he was rehired 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so he led Curacao to the World Cup, heroic effort, and then actually had to step down because his daughter was really not very well, and he decided he just couldn't coach at the World Cup. He recommended his replacement, Fred Rutten, another Dutch coach, and he had a bit of a nightmare, Rutten. They got thrashed by Australia, beaten by China. There was a sense the players didn't really want him in there, and the sponsors also were leaning on the federation to bring back Advocat, and luckily his daughter got a lot better, her health, and Advocat came back in. And he will be the oldest coach in World Cup history at 78. Funnily enough, when Julian Nagelsmann was born, Advocat was 40. So Nagelsmann was literally in nappies when Advocat was coaching the Dutch women's national side. But the weird thing about this World Cup oldest coach is going to change hands 3 times during the tournament, the oldest coach, because Hugo Broos of South Africa in the opening game will become the oldest coach at 74. He's going to pass it a few hours later to Miroslav Kubek of Czechia, who is also 74 but a bit older. And then when Germany play Curacao on June the 14th, it goes to Advocat at 78. And I don't know if they'll ever beat that record, really.
And also, it helps Advocat that he is a bit older still because he's playing third. So he gets older as well as every day goes by. Look, I mean, tell us a bit about this side. Getting there is everything, right? I presume for Curacao, you couldn't envisage them winning a game or getting a point even, or am I underestimating them?
No, because of how difficult this group is, I don't massively see them getting anywhere in this tournament. So it's a stronger side than you might envisage in a way. So it's an entirely Netherlands raised squad. Only one player was born in Curacao. That's Tahith Chong of Sheffield United. He scored that brilliant goal against Germany in their friendly, which they did lose 4-1. But it's an entirely sort of Netherlands flavoured side. Their qualification was amazing, really. They had this final game against Jamaica that they had to get a draw in Jamaica, and it was like you'd scripted it. Jamaica hit the woodwork 3 times. Curacao were clinging on, and then it went to a 90th minute, and Curacao still clinging on. Jamaica get a penalty, and it just looks like, oh, this is it then. Jamaica can score it, and then VAR overturned the penalty, and
That's
Curacao were there. But yeah, I mean, what they'll do is what you'd expect them to do. I think they'll sit deep and they'll try and hit on the break with a bit of pace. They've got the Bacuna brothers, Janino and Leandro in midfield, who are decent footballers. But yeah, it's going to be a big, big ask for them to get anything out of this tournament, I think.
Barry, how's your extensive research of Ecuador, besides whether they have any Sunderland players?
Well, they have Nilson Angulo, who's a Sunderland player. I forgot to mention Simon Adingra in the Ivory Coast bit, and Ahmed Diallo, ex-Sunderland. Sebastian Becachache, the head coach of Ecuador, he never played professionally. He's very much a Marcelo Bielsa disciple, and he learned his trade basically watching Bielsa training sessions and press conferences and matches. Ostensibly, he learned his trade spying on Marcelo Bielsa, which kind of nice irony to that. I reckon they could do all right, They only lost to Brazil in qualifying. They drew with Argentina. They have this reputation as high altitude specialists who are, famously difficult to beat at home, but they're now pretty good away as well. And they came second in South American qualifying, only behind Argentina. They've got a very formidable back four: Piero Hincapi, William Pacho from PSG, Pervis Estebanan, Joel Ordonez from Club Brugge. They've got Ener Valencia and Moy Caicedo. There's a lot to like about this team. I'm putting them very much in dark horse territory.
Wow, 6 goalless draws in qualifying, Wilson. Sounds right up your street.
Yeah, I mean, 14 goals scored in 18 matches, but only 5 conceded. So I'll be honest, if I was back in the UK, I would not be sitting up till 4 a.m. to watch them. And I don't get Nilson Angulo. Like, the one thing that I would question Regis Lebris on this season is why he picks him whenever he's available, because to me, he's looked... To be fair, since he came back from injury, he's looked a bit better. But the 3 or 4 games he played before he got injured, he looked absolutely hopeless. But he obviously has something. And yeah, he is one of their wide outlets in a team that doesn't score goals.
Group F then, the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden and Tunisia. The Netherlands managed by Ronald Koeman, best ever. They're runners-up 3 times, 74, 78, 2010. Got to the quarterfinals last time. Japan managed by Hajime Moriyasu, Japan's longest serving manager. Best ever is the last 16, which they did in Qatar. Sweden managed by Graham Potter, of course, got to the quarterfinals in 94. Thomas Brolin and friends. And Tunisia, managed by Sabri Lamouchi, best ever they've done is the group stages. Rory says, how much chance do the panel give the Netherlands, the most esteemed country not to have won it in an elite field with no consistency in their first 11s? They're not perfect, but their defensive depth is strongest. Wilson.
I mean, I think this is a genuinely tricky group. I think this might be the best balanced of all the 12 groups. I think Xavi Simons is a loss. I think he gave them a lot of guile in midfield. The fact that I never know when something like Tijani Reinders is clearly really important for their rhythm and just the way they manipulate the ball. Is it good he's barely played in the last 6 months? Is he fresh or is he rusty? Very hard to tell. They've got loads of options up front as well. There's a chance Brian Brobby might start. They've got Brobby and Weghorst. They've got these sort of alliterative battering rams.
That's such a dream team. I'd absolutely love to see that.
But they've also got Gakpo and Daniel Marlin. Yeah, they I mean Justin Kluivert as well. Again, he's I think he only started 10 league games at Bournemouth this season. So is he fresh or is he rusty? So yeah, attacking options, they can go in 2 completely different directions. But if they're up against a team that doesn't like it up them, Brobby and Weghorst. I mean, I really hope I just hope there's a game where with 10 minutes to go they desperately need a goal and they're going long to Bobby and Weghorst. I think that would be the best football we see this year.
Who starts in goal for them, Wilson? Is it Roofs or Bart Verbruggen, or is there another one that I've forgotten?
I think Flecken's the other option, isn't it?
Okay, right.
I think a lot of people are saying Roofs is going to start, but he's not. I don't know how much experience. Has he even been capped for the Netherlands? Like barely, right?
Yeah, he's only 23, and it really is this is the first year when he's been even vaguely high profile. And I think looks very calm, but he's not without a Rick when it comes to passing out from the back.
Yeah, I mean, defensively they are strong as well, aren't they? But as you say, Wilson, it does look like a really good group. You think Japan are possibly, what did you say in the WhatsApp group? Or
I think that this Japan might be the best Asian side ever. Now, obviously, the fact Mitoma is injured is a big blow because he is a brilliant player. But they've got, I mean, in terms of players that in the Premier League we know, Kamada and Tanaka in midfield. They've got, I mean, you've got Dyson Maeda from Celtic, who I think probably will play to the left. I think it'll probably be a 3-4-2-1. I think he'd be the left side of the creators. And Ayase, I don't know how you say this, Ueda from Feyenoord. But their record in qualifying was exceptional. Yeah, Asian qualifying takes forever. It's got all these phases. There's all kinds of safety nets, which is why Saudi Arabia got through at about the 8th safety net. Japan just didn't need it at all. They blasted everybody away. The second round of qualifying. So I think they won 6 out of 6 in the first round of qualifying, but you'd expect that because that's against sort of minnows. But then they won 7 of 10 in the second round, which is difficult because huge amounts of travel, very different conditions, very different opponents. So I'm when the draw was made and I realised I was having to make quite an annoying journey to go and see Japan v Tunisia, and we'll come on to my views on Tunisia, which I would say are not positive. Although they have changed manager, to be fair. I was sort of thinking, oh God, that is just a game that I have no interest in seeing. And now I think, no, I think it might be a privilege to see this Japan.
Like Tijani Reinders in the Dutch squad, Wataru Endo has barely played this season, so is he fresh or rusty? And I'm not sure. Takumi Minamono was touch and go. Takumi Minamino, ex Southampton, was touch and go. Ex Southampton and Liverpool was touch and go, but I think he's in the squad. But again, he's barely played for 6 months or more, so that would have to be a concern. But I am intrigued by the fact that Wilson is big on this Japan team's chances. Like, they beat Germany and Spain at the last World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
There is, really interestingly, this Japanese side's got this massive psychological issue, right? They're brilliant side. They look great, qualification breezing through it. But at a World Cup, they've exited at the last 16 every single time since 2002. So they've been beaten by teams they probably shouldn't have been. Turkey, Paraguay, Belgium, Croatia. And apparently that's one of the biggest issues they've got as a team, is they have to get over this psychological hurdle that they've never gone further than that. And it's been really interesting because their coach has been genuinely saying this is a team that should be aiming to win the World Cup. And, you know, the instinct is to scoff at that, but it's a very, very good team until these string of injuries that have come in, and I think probably taken away any chance of them going seriously, seriously deep. But yeah, I think psychologically it's a big one for them.
Sweden were managed by Jean Dahl Thomasson. He was dismissed mid-contract, replaced by Graham Potter, who's having a lovely time. The unshackled, unburdened Graham Potter. As producer Joel said, like a newly divorced dad with a new car. They have got a few injuries, like they don't have Kulusevski, which is a bit of an issue. Isak is in the squad, though, scored in their friendly against Norway yesterday. Gyökeres is seemingly different for Sweden, or I think he did okay at Arsenal. So, Baz, I don't know if it's as far as dark horse, but they have some good players.
Yeah, they definitely have good players. It'll be interesting to see how Alexander Isak gets on. Gyökeres has conspicuously improved for Arsenal in the last couple of months, but the bar was pretty low and he's still not particularly good at holding up the ball. I don't know if Sweden will play him and Isak together or just one of them. They stank the place out in qualifying and only snuck in through the back door of Nations League, but they're there now and they've got Graham Potter. He's much loved in Sweden. I would be surprised if they finished in the top 2 in the group. They may well finish third if that'll be enough. I don't know, but I can't really see them doing much damage at this tournament.
Wilson?
The amount of love Sweden has for Graham Potter has to be experienced to be believed. I was in a hotel. I was at the Sweden-Poland the playoff game, and I was in a hotel actually quite near the ground. So there's lots of Sweden fans there. And going to the game, I got in the lift with about a dozen very pissed Sweden fans, and they were like, "Oh, you're English? Do you know Graham Potter?" And I was like, "Well, I've been in press conferences with him, and it was It was like I'd been touched by a saint. They wanted to sort of touch my feet. It was extraordinary. And then the press conference afterwards, I've never seen a manager so happy, so relaxed. And you compare that to what he was like at Chelsea or at West Ham. There's a very special, inexplicable bond there, and I just don't think you can judge anything that Sweden have done in the last 2 years. Maybe those 2 playoff games against Ukraine and Poland. Even the Poland game didn't really make much sense. Sweden just kept scoring. Poland were much better. They had all the ball. They kept creating chances. Every time they equalised, Sweden just went down the other end and scored. So I don't think there's any track record you can judge them on, and I think they're very dangerous because they are such a loose horse.
Me and producer Joel speculating that we think you told that story about being in a lift with some Sweden fans a week ago. I do like the idea that you will now tell it to us once a week until Football Weekly is no longer a going concern.
I mean, if you like, it could become a sort of a Barry's goal.
Barry's header. Barry's header for Gen Z or whatever we've become now. Right, Paul, do you want to start on Tunisia before we let Wilson have his kick them into the dirt?
Yeah, I mean, Tunisia is a really tricky one, isn't it? Because you can look at them in various different ways. I mean, there's this stat, again, they didn't concede a single goal in qualification, and that sounds great until you look at the fact they're in a group with Namibia, Liberia, Equatorial Guinea, Malawi, and Sao Tome and Principe. So they just weren't really tested. And I think, as Wilson alluded to, this change of manager's been interesting. They had Sami Trabelsi in there. They didn't do well at AFCON. And then they've brought in Sabri Lamouchi, who was Ivory Coast coach in 2014. He got them to 2014 World Cup and then got knocked out of the groups. So again, not a coach you can massively say either way is a good or bad choice. But really the big thing that stands out to me is the lack of any real forward options, like striking options. There was talk that Louis Ben Farhat, this 19-year-old sort of rising star, was going to be the big hope, and he he's not been selected, but apparently his dad turned down selection for him. I don't know if that's true, but basically said don't pick him. He's not ready. I don't know 100% if that's true, but it kind of says a lot about how few striking options there are on this team and how little excitement there is to be had from Tunisia. So I would probably be a lot milder than Wilson, but I do feel like this is not a team you feel particularly excited to watch.
Wilson?
I've been watching them for 24 years. There is no team in world football I like watching less, except it's sort of come out the other side now, and I quite relish how awful they are. And what's frustrating about them is they have had over the past quarter of a century some extremely technically gifted players, but they play with a greater sense of paranoia than any other country on earth. So the last 16 of the Cup of Nations this year, which was it was John Bruin's first ever Cup of Nations game, and it was Tunisia versus Mali, and I think Mali have got a bit of a Tunisia tendency to play within themselves as well. So I said to Bruin, like, you're getting the full AFCON experience here. Do not expect anything to happen in this game. And Tunisia were better than Mali. Player for player, they're better. And then Mali had a man sent off after about half an hour. So they've got an hour to score. And they didn't attack. They sat back. They sat back against a 10-man bad side. They did finally score, immediately conceded with a free kick, and they lost on penalties. And it was the most obvious, foreseeable Tunisian exit. So, to be fair to Sami Trabelsi, he was, and this happened to a couple of coaches at the Cup of Nations, he was undermined by having the Arab Championship sort of like 3 weeks before the Cup of Nations. and they hadn't done well there with the B team, so there's pressure on him. That maybe in part explains his paranoia, though it does seem to be a cultural thing running through Tunisian football. So yeah, he was on a hiding to nothing. Ends up getting sacked. Sabili Mouchi, who knows how he'll do. He has picked a pretty different squad to the Cup of Nations, including calling in Rani Khedira, who's Sami Khedira's brother, who's 32, uncapped previously, a midfielder.
He is a footballer, just to confirm.
Yeah. He is a midfielder, yeah.
He's an estate agent in Berlin.
And Paul alluded to the lack of attacking options. He's brought in Khalil Ayari from PSG, who is a young, very, very inexperienced forward. And it seems essentially a bit of a Hail Mary, just sort of, let's hope this kid can do something, because they really do lack creative options. Hannibal, who used to be at Manchester United, now at Burnley, everything in that game against Mali went through him, and I would say that is a non-ideal situation.
Not so much Eagles of Carthage as lame ducks.
They'd be really awkward. They're a difficult team to play against because they do everything not to play football.
Stubborn ducks.
Yeah, stubborn, quite annoying ducks. It's like a duck who sits in the path when you go for an early morning run. And there's a duck in the path sleeping and will not move. It's not gonna come at you, but it will get in your way.
Got it. All right, that'll do for Group F. We'll do Group G in Part 2. Welcome to Part 2 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran and New Zealand. Belgium managed by Rudy Garcia, best ever, third in 2018, went out in the group stages last time. Egypt managed by Hossam Hassan, best ever as the group stages in 2018. Iran managed by Amir Galanoy, best in the group stages, and they did that in Qatar. And New Zealand, best ever group stages 1982-2010, where they were famously undefeated and released a DVD called Undefeated, drawing their 3 games. This, Barry, looks nice for Belgium to me.
It does. It'll be a huge surprise if they don't top this group. They've got some absolutely terrific players. They've got some very experienced players in Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, Thibaut Courtois and Axel Witsel. 4 players with nearly 500 caps between them. I think they've got brilliant wingers. Jeremy Doku, Charles de Ketelaere, among others. Leandro Trossard's there. My main concern for Belgium would be that they don't really have a decent striker. Romelu Lukaku's getting on. He's only played 5 or 6 times this season, I think, or this year. No, this season. And can Lois Openda step up for them? I don't know. But yeah, where are the goals going to come from Belgium? But looking at how much creativity they have, if they can get someone banging them in, they could be a real force.
I mean, De Ketelaere can play down the middle as well. I mean, he's not a goal scorer, but he is sort of, a deft, sort of Sheringham type player in my mind. What do you reckon, Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, they did score 29 goals in 8 games in qualifying, which sounds really impressive till you actually look at it. And to be fair, they scored 4 twice against Wales, but a lot of those goals against Kazakhstan and Liechtenstein. So they're great at scoring goals against quite weak opposition. I think you look at that side and draw the same conclusion Barry has, that maybe against better teams they will struggle. And I it's one of those things that can work 2 ways. The fact that squad is so familiar. I mean, the 4 that Barry mentioned, but I mean, Meunier's been there for forever as well. Is it good that they know each other so well? Does that just mean they'll settle into a natural rhythm, or are they a bit stale and a bit knackered and ancient, and in the heat they'll wilt? So I mean, the group is very kind, I think, but I can't really see them going much further than that.
How red-faced will Kevin De Bruyne be in the heat? Will be fun to see. Paul, so we could have a situation where Belgium win these games, Paul, convincingly, and then everyone starts saying this is the team, and then they struggle in the knockouts.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to sort of see them finally not being called a golden generation, isn't it, Belgium? This is very much not, but it still has that traces of it. It's funny, everyone's worried about them going forward. I'm actually a bit worried about them at the back. I'm not like massively worried, like I don't go to bed worrying about Belgium generally, but their 5-2 friendly win against the USA kind of showed that. They were a bit of a mess, really, defensively, and I know it's just a friendly, but I just feel like there was this period where they had the the so-called golden generation, and you had people like Vincent Kompany and, Vertonghen at the back. This new back line doesn't impress me as much. You've got a lot of potentially good young defenders. I like Arta Tiat, I like Brandon Michele, Zeno Dabas, a good player, but it doesn't feel like defensively they've got the same authority. That said, it is great that Thibaut Courtois has come back in. He had that feud with the previous boss, Domenico Tedesco, and they were basically not playing one of the best goalkeepers in world football for a while, which is brilliantly self-sabotaging, which I think in a way is perfectly Belgium to self-sabotage in that way. But my worry is actually that they could concede a few soft goals at this tournament, and I think that will let them down.
Apart from going forward then and defensively, we have high hopes for Belgium. Egypt, Wilson, I've heard you be sort of, Tunisia-like critical of Egypt in the past.
Well, except they were good at it. Yeah, they I think Egypt have traditionally played within themselves, but been successful in doing so. So you always felt there's a bit more there, but it's quite hard. Not that it stopped me criticising them or Didier Deschamps' France. It's quite hard to criticise a team that is winning things. I have major reservations about Hossam Hassan as a coach, and I'm not the only one. Again, he was undermined by the Arab Cup. So Ahmed Hassan, who is, I think he's the most successful footballer in African history. Did he win 4 Cups of Nations? He was definitely there for the one in 98 and at least 2 of the 3 in a row. He's sort of openly laughing at Hossam Hassan as a sort of tactician. Esmail Adari, the ancient goalkeeper, who I think he's the oldest player ever to play in a World Cup at 45. He's been very critical of Hossam Hassan. I did not expect Hossam Hassan to make it to the tournament. I thought that the semi-final exit at the Cup of Nations would see him off. He's somehow still there. They did, after sort of lots of messing around with different formations, they did settle on this 3-4-1-2 formation, which allows them to play both Mohamed Salah and Omar Mamouche. And I think that is probably the way to get the best out of the two of them, that you just sort of let them have essentially 3 roles up front. Salah vaguely to the right, Mamouche vaguely to the left. And that's pulled together by Emam Ashur, who is a very sort of old-fashioned creative number 10. And so if the platform, if the 3-4 bits of the 3-4-1-2 work, they could be quite dangerous. But I just don't trust Hossam Hassan to make the right calls during games. I don't. I think he's a motivator rather than a tactician. And for Salah, this is massive because he did play in the World Cup in 2018, but it was shortly after that shoulder injury he got in the Champions League final. He missed their opening game when they lost to Uruguay, and he clearly wasn't fully fit for the last 2 group games. So this is probably his only shot at doing well at a World Cup. So I think Marmouche's presence means a little bit less pressure on him and a little bit less reliant on him for attacking flair, but it is still really all about him.
Iran will hope to focus on the football, but obviously the political tensions will surround every game they play. They are staying in Mexico, playing their games in the US. As we record, the USA strikes on Iran are still happening. They're calling them defensive. Trump insists the deal is close, so we have no idea what the situation will be like when this episode goes out next week, or how the conflict will develop over the 6 weeks of the tournament. We will obviously keep you posted on all sides of this, the footballing and the political one. And then, of course, there's the Iranian diaspora in the US who are very critical of the regime back in Iran as well, and they might meet the USA in the last 32 if they both become runners-up in their groups, which is not an impossibility.
Yeah, that would be interesting, to say the least. I suppose the thing about the Iran squad is they've left out Sardar Azmoun, who's their best striker, 31-year-old who scored 57 goals in 91 appearances, but he has he's played for Bayer Leverkusen, Roma and Zenit St. Petersburg in the past. He has a history of criticizing the Iranian regime on social media, where he has 6 million followers. He's a big supporter of Iranian women, and he's not in the squad. And I guess we can figure out why. They've got Mehdi Taremi from Olympiacos, decent player. So I think they were at training camp in Turkey. They're going to Tirana, and it's quite an old squad. I don't know, would them playing the USA be a good thing, a bad, something we really want to avoid? I don't really know enough about the conflict to offer an opinion. I don't want to be flippant, but they've never got out of a group of the World Cup before. I guess they could get out of this one. They could fit. Yeah, they could.
They could. Yeah. What about New Zealand's chances, Paul?
New Zealand are actually a pretty interesting team to watch. And I think one of the weird things for New Zealand is there's this double-edged sword. Like, qualification was really easy, so that's great for them. But also, qualification didn't push them at all. They played 5 matches in World Cup qualification, which I think when you compare it to, was it Iraq, who played the most games, which was something like 21. They played 5 matches. They beat New Caledonia 3-0 in the final. That was the hardest test. They thrashed Fiji 7-0 in the semi-finals. So they really weren't pushed at all through qualification. The big thing for New Zealand has been the return of Chris Wood. Like, that's enormous for them, because without Wood, I think there was this worry about where the goals were going to come. That said, they actually had this friendly against Chile where everyone was saying, well, they're not going to score any goals, and they won 4-1, and it was kind of a chance for a couple of their the guys that have been in Wood's shadow to step up. So Costa Barbarousis, this 36-year-old who missed out on the 2010 squad, he's kind of he's having this chance to kind of redeem that. He scores
about 100 goals in the A-League every season.
He's a brilliant player in his own way. He's one of these like legend kind of veteran players, and he just gives everything. So they had him and Ben Waine from Port Vale. He scored as well against Chile. Like, there is more strength in depth than it looks with just relying on Chris Wood. But then, I mean, my favourite player actually is Eli Just from Motherwell. He's brilliant, and he's almost always there for New Zealand, and he's just such a lovely, like, creative figure in the team. Sarpreet Singh's been great, but he's had injury problems. But I think the thing everyone's talking about is surely Tim Payne, right? I mean, the most famous man in the world suddenly, having previously been labelled the least known player in the World Cup, right? But this is a squad that also has Tommy Smith from Braintree Town. So I suspect Tommy Smith's sitting there at home thinking, that could have been me.
Yeah. Well, the story, if you don't know, some Argentinian influencer said that Tim Payne and his 4,000 Instagram followers was the least known player at the tournament, and told everyone to follow him. And he now has 4.3 million Instagram followers, which, I mean, like, which is unbelievable. When you talk about this poor guy at Braintree, like, if you have 4.3 million Instagram followers, financially, that's insane. Like the things that marketing people will approach you with, like, it could be, it's sort of transformational for Tim Payne, but, you know, he seems to be taking it in his stride in sort of typical understated Kiwi fashion. Good luck to them, and that'll do for part 2. Sid Lowe will join us for part 3, and we will do Group H. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Group H then: Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Spain managed by Luis de la Fuente. Of course, won it in 2010. Got to the last 16 last time out. Cape Verde, managed by Pedro Brito. Saudi Arabia, managed by Georgios Donis, got to the last 16 in 1994. Knocked out in the group stages last time out after beating Argentina in that opening game, of course. And Uruguay, managed by Marcelo Bielsa, won it in 1930, 1950, went out in the group stages last time. Sid Lowe is here with a group of builders behind him.
Yeah.
Hey, Sid, you okay?
Hi, Max. Yeah, I'm fine, apart from the horrendous drilling and It's the sound of the Spanish summer. You cannot go anywhere in the Spanish summer without hearing drilling. Sounds
like something someone would say on, Kiss FM. This is the sound of the Spanish summer. On Madrid FM, the sound of the Spanish summer.
That's
but it's just
basically
it's drill music of the highest order.
Yeah.
How are Spain going to get on then, Sid?
Well, when they went into the European Championships, nobody thought they were good enough, and they were very conscious of the fact that nobody thought they were good enough, and they've now made the point that everyone now thinks they're favourites and they're going to win it, and they don't necessarily want to take that on board either. I think the if you like, the evolution in particular of Lamine Yamal, who of course was 16 then, is 18 now, and I think the evolution of players like that and the confidence that comes from having won the European Championships, beating everybody who was good en route, Italy, England, France, Croatia as well, Germany, makes them feel like they are possibly the strongest side. And you look at the team and you kind of feel like that. But there's one or two doubts, and in particular, the doubts are about the fitness of a handful of key players, including Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, because the squad the side looks balanced, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's very stable as well. There's a couple of new faces in from before. Mark Poulbill's the latest arrival. Eric Garcia's back in the team, having not been in the squad for basically 4 years. But there's a real stability. That said, the stability is undermined. The idea of stability is undermined a little bit by the fact that Alvaro Morata and Dani Carvajal aren't there, who were two of what I think you would probably call a 3-man leadership team with Rodri from Manchester City. So Rodri's now the only one left, and it'll be interesting to see how much of a role that plays. But there is a stability. There's a very clear idea. There's a manager who has a very clear kind of authority, not necessarily over his players, but with his players. It's a group he knows very, very well. He talks a lot about the importance of personality and balance. And yeah, you look at that squad and you think there's really not too much wrong with it.
There are no Real Madrid players in it, which instantly makes you go, what? And then you think, well, actually, there aren't that many Real Madrid players that would, qualify to play for Spain. But does that have any impact? Is that a headline in Spain? Does that change how Real fans feel about the international team?
I mean, to continue the metaphor, it's a headline, but then you read the article and go, yeah, well, whatever. Because, the fact is there, and it is the first time they've had a squad with no Real Madrid players in it. But you look at the Real Madrid squad and you look at the way Real Madrid have played this season, you think, well, how could it possibly have had any Real Madrid players in? Now, there's a couple that might have got in. Dani Carvajal's been injured, so he wasn't going to make it and didn't really get the opportunity to play in the final weeks of the season to maybe demonstrate to Luis de la Fuente that he was just about fit enough to carry on. But he wasn't injured, he wasn't available, or not properly available. Alvaro Carreras was not likely to get in at left back. The only player that might have made it was Dean Howson, and he's had a really, really bad season. So yeah, it's just not a big deal in footballing terms. But of course, in terms of the imagery, and also given the nature of the way that Spain's kind of football fandom is split down the middle, it has a significance, I think, that kind of isn't really about the team. It's more about the noise around it.
Did Rodri and Zubimendi both? Who's the midfield? Because you got Pedri, Gavi, Rodri, Zubimendi. It's hard to know.
Yeah, it is.
Who starts?
I think maybe 4 or 5 months ago I'd have said Zubimendi actually starts ahead of Rodri. I don't think that's true anymore. For reasons that you know better than me, because of what's happened in the performance level in England, and also because I think there's a belief now that Rodri is fully fit and has that kind of authority and leadership. So I think it will be him with 2 others, which almost certainly I would say would probably be Pedri and maybe Fabian Ruiz. It may depend on whether De La Fuente wants to play 3 in midfield and 3 up front, or 3 in midfield with 1 in front of them behind the forward line. So that then poses a question about whether it's Fabian Ruiz or for example, Dani Olmo. The other thing in all of this is that De La Fuente would have loved to have played Mikel Merino. He's got them in the squad. He wants him there. He wants him to play a part. But of course, because of fitness, we don't know how much of a part he'll play.
Wilson, any thoughts on Spain?
Yes.
Good. Keep them
Would you like to share them?
So the key thing, it seemed to me, about Spain at the Euros was that to the sort of possession football we're very used to, they'd added this directness wide through Lamine Yamal and through Nico Williams. Nico Williams obviously is not there because of injury. So you suggested that maybe they're not going to play that same shape, but who would naturally come in for him?
Well, I mean, it depends what Spain want to do. So, I mean, Luis de la Fuente, I think, was very, very clear that Nico Williams is in the squad. By the way, we're just not sure if he's gonna start. Luis de la Fuente is very, very clear that he wanted wingers in a kind of old-fashioned sense, very quick, very direct, make things happen, to give Spain an edge that they used to have, to maybe be more willing to release the ball early from deeper positions. I think the fitness doubts about those two mean this is one of the reasons why, for example, Victor Muñoz is in the squad, who got his first call up in the last round of international games. He's a former Real Madrid youth team player who's played at Osasuna this year. Very, very quick, very direct, and very exciting. I think that's one of the reasons why Yeremy Pino's in the squad. I think there was a slight doubt about whether or not he would make it, but that gives you a winger. And then there is also the alternative, which of course is to have someone who's not necessarily a winger playing in those positions coming inside. So maybe you have Dani Olmo out wide. I think this is one of the reasons why it's a real pity that Fermín López got injured at the end of the season, because that was the role that he was starting to play for Barcelona, nominally in the wing, but really and truly kind of a driver midfield all over the place. But I think what we'll probably see happen is that I think in the first few games we might see moments of Lamine Yamal, but I think by the time he's fully fit, he starts, and if they can get Nico fully fit, Nico starts as well.
Paul, Cape Verde making their debut. What do we need to know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been sold as a sort of surprise story, which in a way it is. They're the third smallest nation by population to reach a World Cup. They topped a group with Cameroon and Angola in it, which, you wouldn't necessarily expect it. But they've been building this team since about 2023 AFCON, really, where they topped a group with Egypt and Ghana and sort of shocked everyone there. And it's a really strong unit. None of them are domestically based players. They're all coming from Europe, including Roberto Pico Lopez coming from Ireland, who was recruited by LinkedIn, which is one of my favourite stories of the World Cup. He got a LinkedIn message saying, do you want to come and play for Cape Verde? But it was in Portuguese, so he just ignored it. And then a year later got the same message in English and said, oh, yeah, I do. And he's become quite integral. And this team's bound by this charismatic coach, Bubista, like a kind of very charismatic, very good manager, became African Coach of the Year in 2025. So for this team, it really is a huge tournament for two reasons. They've never been in a World Cup before, but also this team is an aging team. So the core of the team are basically getting this one shot at a World Cup, and then they're going to be gone. Vozinha, the goalkeeper, is 39. Stopira at the back is 37. Their top goal scorer and appearance maker is Ryan Mendes. He's 36. So you've got quite an old team here, but it's a team that have sort of grown to this point where this is their big shot. And I think it's all about, can they shock Saudi Arabia? I think that's the game they'll identify as winnable here, and it may be that would do it, beat Saudi Arabia, and who knows, they could even get through as the third place team.
Wilson, Uruguay, Bielsa, discuss.
Yeah, more complicated than it might be. So I think there's a lot of frustration in Uruguay at Bielsa. It started really well for them. They won 2-0 away to Argentina. They beat Brazil in qualifying, but the last year or so things have gone off the boil a bit. I think to an extent it's just this is not a great generation of Uruguayan players, and that there's a tendency to blame Bielsa for that. But equally, they did win the Under-20 World Cup in 2023, and none of that squad have been elevated by Bielsa. So Luis Suarez, who retired 20 months ago, has been very critical of Bielsa, then suddenly said, oh, actually, I am available for this World Cup. And Bielsa hasn't picked him, quite understandably. But one of the things that Suarez said was that he found Bielsa's harshness in team talks very, very difficult to deal with. And that game where they won 2-0 in La Bombonera against Argentina supposedly reduced Darwin Núñez to tears at half-time. Now, Darwin Núñez went out, had a great second half and scored. So, from a pro-Bielsa point of view, you'd say, well, it worked. But equally, I'm not really sure reducing players to tears is ever a great idea. And Darwin Núñez hasn't played since February because of the Saudi team he plays for have had a reshuffle of their foreign players, and there's I think only 3 foreigners allowed. So again, is he fresh? Is he rusty? I think probably rusty. But equally, he hasn't scored a goal for Uruguay for 2 years now. He got banned. If you remember the semi-final of the Copa America in 2024, there was a Uruguayan player sort of waded into the crowd after they said that their families were being attacked by Colombia fans. Darwin Núñez got a 5-game ban for that. Since he's come back, I think it's 11 or 12 matches for the national team, he hasn't got a goal. They really need him to start scoring again. So I think a lot of question marks there.
Baz, a line on Saudi Arabia, and then your thoughts on the group as a whole.
Well, Saudi Arabia, their head coach, Georges Donis, who you mentioned already, he replaced Hervé Renard in April. So it's a new gig for him. How much time will he have to impose his ideas? They famously beat Argentina 4 years ago. Most of their players play in the Saudi Pro League. I think almost all of them play in the Saudi Pro League, apart from one exception, who's at Lens on loan from Roma, Saud Abdulhamid. But the influx of foreigners to the Saudi Pro League on Big Wedge means that quite a lot of these players don't get much game time anymore, and that would have to be a concern. Again, are they fresh? Are they rusty and not fit? Yeah, they'll probably finish third. I mean, winning this group is important because whoever wins the group will get an easier route through to the final potentially. If Spain win the group, they'll probably avoid Brazil and Argentina, and they'll also avoid a potential matchup against Mexico in Mexico. And we've already discussed how playing in Mexico could be difficult for teams who aren't Mexican.
Can you imagine Liam McClare will make a loop of people saying, "Are they fresh or are they rusty?" As everyone says that.
Well, it's are they fresh or are they rusty?
Yeah, that's it. You're right. Sid, I just wanted one more line from you because the construction in the background is absolutely sensational.
The thing is, right?
Poor old Sid has to live there.
Exactly what I was going to say. You can at least cut me off in a minute and get on with your lives. I've got to put up with this probably for the next, certainly until I leave for the US.
Well, you'll be okay. Thanks for coming on, Sid.
Very much a pleasure. Cheerio.
Cheers, mate. Sid Lowe there, out in drilling country. Okay, then one-word answers for these then. Who's going to win it, Paul?
Same answer, Spain.
Wilson?
France.
Who's getting the golden boot? Paul?
Oh, God, that's a tricky one. You put me on the spot here. Can you come back to me?
Yeah, I can. Wilson?
Mbappe.
Okay. I mean, you can just repeat what Wilson said if you want, Paul.
No, that would be unoriginal. No, I kind of don't think he will either.
All right, interesting. Producer Joel says Paul doesn't read his emails because we didn't put you on the spot, but this was part of the preview, and you get a yellow card there, Paul. That's right. A dark horse, then, Wilson.
Japan.
Okay, Paul, have you got one?
A dark horse. I think my dark horse is Senegal. If they're allowed to be a dark horse, are they too big to be a dark horse?
To be a dark horse. I suppose they did win AFCON. Well, did they win AFCON? I mean, that's a good question.
Not at the moment they didn't, but they might in the future.
And how will England do, Wilson?
Okay, but not win it. Do you want a round, or is okay but not win it enough?
I'd like it. No, that's too vague. I'd like a round.
Quarters,
Paul.
Semis,
okay. Thanks, chaps. To stay across all our World Cup content as we go daily from Friday, find us on TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and Blue Sky. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
See you in LA. Thank you, Wilson.
Cheers, thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you somewhere at the World Cup. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
See you every day soon, every morning. Who's showering first? Can I use your
minute
Radox?
of every day.
Yeah, exactly. Football Weekly is produced by Tyre Papula. Our executive producer is Joel Grove, and we'll do the other 4 groups tomorrow.